Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep on Unstoppable, the hidden code of growth and leadership. This book, um, it really seems to make some bold claims
Yeah, it
about
does.
unlocking potential and, all that. So we're going to see if it lives up to the hype, right?
Absolutely. We'll dive into the practical stuff and see what we can actually take away from it.
Perfect. So one of the things that really jumped out at me at the beginning was this whole idea of a growth mindset.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we've all heard about it before,
Yeah.
but the book really digs into why it's so important for leadership.
It is. It's really like the foundation. Carol Dweck's research. It shows that believing in your ability to grow and evolve is essential for overcoming challenges and setbacks. It's kind of like, think of it this way. A fixed mindset sees failure as like a period at the end of a sentence.
Oh, like a full stop.
Yeah, exactly. A full stop. But a growth mindset, it sees it more as a comma.
Right.
Like just a pause, a chance to learn and adjust.
Okay, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And the book even has that great example of the two athletes, right?
Right.
Like one of them sees losing as proof that they're just not good enough.
Right.
And the other one uses it as motivation to actually train harder.
Exactly. And you know what? That's not just for athletes or anything like that. This applies to everything. Leading a team, raising a family, even just sticking to a personal goal. It's about looking at roadblocks as opportunities to get creative.
To problem solve, yeah.
Yeah, problem solve. Become more resilient.
It really makes you think about those times in your own life where maybe you had a fixed mindset and it held you back.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a growth mindset helped you achieve something you didn't think you could.
Absolutely.
Now, the book doesn't just talk about mindset, though, does it? It really challenges our whole idea of what leadership even is.
Yeah, it really does. It argues that leadership, it's not about your title or your position. It's about the impact you have.
Yeah.
You can lead from anywhere, seriously, whether you're a CEO, a parent, or just starting out in your career.
It's about your influence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Influence. The key is to influence yourself first and then those around you.
That's a really interesting shift.
Yeah.
So you said that the book emphasizes that leadership starts with self-influence.
Right.
Could you connect that back to having a growth mindset?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're right on. It's totally connected. With a growth mindset, you're way more open to feedback.
Right, more willing to learn.
Yeah, you're more willing to learn and ultimately more effective at influencing yourself. And that allows you to positively impact others. Think of it like this. It's like building a foundation of self-awareness and adaptability, which are like two essential qualities of a strong leader.
I like that. And the book
Yeah.
gives all these different examples to illustrate that.
Yeah.
Like the CEO leading a company through a crisis,
Right?
a parent guiding their child, a young professional taking initiative on a project.
Mm.
It just really expands that definition of leadership. It almost makes you ask yourself, what kind of leader do I want to be?
It does.
What impact do I want to make?
Those are great questions. And that's the kind of self-reflection this book really encourages. It's like moving away from that old school command and control style of leadership
Yeah.
and moving toward a model where leadership is about empowering others.
Creating a shared vision.
Exactly. Inspiring action.
Now, one concept that I thought was really interesting was this idea of intentional authenticity.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like taking that common advice to just be yourself,
Right.
but then it adds this layer of strategy to it.
It
It
does.
makes you wonder, is being yourself always the best approach?
That's where it gets kind of tricky. The book argues that sometimes unbridled authenticity can backfire,
Especially as a leader.
especially as a leader. Think about it. A leader who's always expressing their frustration.
Oh, right.
Or just reacting impulsively to every situation,
Yeah.
that kind of lack of control can erode trust and damage relationships.
So it's not about suppressing who you are,
No.
but more about choosing the right moments to express yourself fully.
Exactly. It's about understanding the impact of your words and actions and just being more deliberate with how you show up. Think about it. There's a difference between being authentically frustrated
Right.
and being authentically assertive when you're addressing a problem. Intentional authenticity is about mastering that difference.
So it's like finding that balance.
Yes,
Which seems especially important when it comes to executive presence,
it is.
which the book describes as like a hidden superpower.
It really is. And, intentional authenticity plays a huge role in that. It's about having this self-awareness to know when to lean in with your full personality and when to maybe dial it back a bit for a greater impact.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The book really emphasizes that owning the room without even saying a word can be so powerful.
Oh, it is incredibly powerful. And it also debunks that myth that executive presence is about being the loudest or most extroverted person in the room.
Right. It's not about that.
It's about quiet confidence, clear communication.
And thoughtful behavior.
Exactly. It's about being intentional in every interaction.
So let's break that down a little bit.
Yeah.
The book talks about executive presence in terms of appearance, behavior, and communication.
Right.
What are some practical things we can do to master each of those?
Okay, so when it comes to appearance, it's not about conforming to some rigid standard or anything.
Right.
It's about presenting yourself in a way that aligns with your personal brand and the context of the situation. It's like making sure your appearance doesn't distract from your message, but actually enhances it. So, for example, if you're meeting with a potential investor,
Oh, yeah.
you might dress more formally to convey that sense of professionalism and respect. But if you're brainstorming with your team,
Yeah.
a more casual look might actually encourage creativity and collaboration.
It's about being intentional and reading the room.
Exactly. Now, for behavior, posture is huge. Stand tall, shoulders back, head held high. You'll instantly look and feel more confident. Eye contact is also crucial. It shows that you're engaged and interested in the person you're speaking to. And then there are little things, like a firm handshake,
Right.
a genuine smile, and just being present in the moment. These small things can actually have a big impact on how people perceive you.
It's interesting how those subtle cues can make such a difference.
They really do.
Now, when it comes to communication, the book talks about being clear, concise, and confident.
Yes.
And it introduces this really practical tool called the AM framework.
That
So what's that all about?
So the AIM framework is designed to make your communication more purposeful and impactful. It stands for audience, intent, and message.
Okay, I like it. Break it down for me.
Okay, so it all starts with your audience.
Yeah.
Before you say a word, ask yourself, who am I speaking to? What are their needs, their interests? What's their level of understanding? Then you clarify your intent. What do you want your audience to do as a result of hearing your message?
Or what action do I want them to take?
Yes. Are you informing them, persuading them, inspiring them, or just trying to connect? And finally, you craft your message. What's the most concise and compelling way to communicate your point and achieve your desired outcome?
I love how practical that is. It takes all the guesswork out of communication
Yeah.
and helps you really zero in on what you're trying to achieve. Makes you wonder how many times we just ramble on without a clear purpose.
Way too often. We often forget that communication is a tool.
Right.
And like any tool, it needs to be used skillfully. The AIM framework helps you sharpen that tool and use it effectively.
And speaking of tools, this reminds me of another point the book makes about communication.
Okay.
It's not just about what you say, but also about how you say it.
Oh, absolutely. It's about using your voice effectively, varying your tone, using pauses for emphasis.
Body language, too.
Yes, nonverbal cues like facial expressions and body language. These can either reinforce your message or completely undermine it.
So much more to it than we realize sometimes.
There really is.
So how do we become more aware of these subtle cues and actually use them to our advantage?
Self-awareness is key. Pay attention to how you communicate in different situations. Record yourself giving a presentation or having a conversation.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Ask for feedback from colleagues or friends who you trust. The more aware you become of your own habits, the better you'll be able to adjust them.
To make the biggest impact.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see that executive presence is not just about being charismatic or charming.
It's not.
It's about being intentional and strategic and self-aware.
You got it. It's about taking ownership of your communication and using it to achieve your goals and make a positive impact.
Wow, this deep dive is already jam-packed with so much good stuff. Can't wait to hear more.
Me too. There's so much more to unpack.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's amazing how those little tweaks in our communication
Right.
can really change how we come across and how effectively we can lead.
Totally. Like we're unlocking this whole new level of communication mastery. But the book doesn't stop there, does it?
Yeah.
It goes on to talk about feedback loops and how they're so important for shaping our influence.
It does. It really emphasizes that communication isn't just a one-way street. It's a constant back and forth. Our words and actions trigger reactions in others,
Right.
which then shape our behavior
Right.
and ultimately influence the results we get.
So it's like this continuous cycle
Yeah.
where we're both sending and receiving signals.
Exactly.
And those signals are always influencing each other. So I guess that means we're not just passively receiving feedback.
Right.
We're actively shaping it too.
Exactly. Every interaction is a chance to learn and adjust and get better.
Yeah.
And this is where self-awareness is so important. The more we understand how our communication is landing on others,
Yeah.
the better we can manage those feedback loops and get the outcomes we want.
And this whole idea of feedback loops is especially relevant for leaders.
Yeah.
Right? Because their actions and communication have such a ripple effect.
Oh, absolutely. Leaders who are really tuned into feedback loops, they're always gathering information and analyzing their impact and making adjustments to their approach. They're not afraid to ask for feedback, and they're willing to change course if they need to.
It's all about being adaptable
Yes.
and responsive.
Yeah.
And that actually reminds me of another big idea in the book, rewiring our thought patterns
Yes.
for mastery.
Right.
The book uses this analogy of the brain being like a muscle,
Right.
saying that the more we think in a certain way, the stronger those neural pathways become.
Such a powerful analogy. It really highlights how important it is to choose our thoughts carefully. The book argues that we can actually reprogram our minds for success.
Really?
Yeah, by replacing those limiting beliefs.
With empowering ones.
Exactly.
So it's not just about like positive thinking.
No.
It's about actively changing how we think.
It is. It's about identifying those negative thought patterns that hold us back
Yeah.
and consciously replacing them with thoughts that are more constructive and helpful.
Yeah.
The book has specific exercises for this.
Oh, really?
Like reframing negative self-talk or challenging those limiting beliefs.
Okay, can you give us an example of how that might work?
Sure. Let's say someone is terrified of public speaking.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of focusing on the fear itself,
Okay.
they could start by figuring out what specific thoughts are triggering that fear.
Like what?
Like, I'm going to mess up, or everyone's going to judge me. Once they've pinpointed those thoughts, they can start to challenge them.
Okay.
They might ask themselves, is there any evidence to support these
Yeah,
thoughts?
right.
Or what's a more realistic and empowering way to think about this? They could reframe, I'm going to mess up with, I've prepared well and I'm going to do my best.
Oh, I like that.
Or replace, people are going to judge me with, people are here to learn from me.
It's like taking control of that inner voice
Yes,
and choosing to focus on thoughts that empower us rather than hold us back.
exactly. It's about shifting from fear and self-doubt to confidence and believing in yourself. And the more you do this, the easier it gets.
It becomes a habit. Yeah, it's like building a mental muscle that helps you navigate challenges and reach your goals.
It's amazing how much power we have over our own thoughts
It really is.
and how those thoughts shape our reality. You know, as we're going through these key takeaways from Unstoppable, I'm seeing a pattern.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It seems like it's all about taking ownership,
Ownership.
yeah, of our lives, whether it's our mindset or our communication or our thought patterns. It's recognizing that we have the power to create the life we want.
That's such a great point. It's about shifting from being passive to active, from feeling stuck to feeling empowered, embracing the idea that we are the architects of our own destiny.
That's so inspiring. It makes me wonder, what's one small step our listener can take today to really embody this idea of taking ownership?
That's a great question. And I think the answer is different for everyone. It could be as simple as deciding to practice a growth mindset, or becoming more aware of your communication patterns, or even just taking a few minutes each day to rewire your thoughts. The important thing is to start somewhere and keep going. Remember, progress over perfection.
Love that. So small, consistent actions that add up to big changes.
They do.
And I think Unstoppable gives us the tools and the inspiration to start that journey.
I agree. It's a roadmap for personal and professional growth. And it reminds us that we all have the potential to do amazing things when we tap into our inner strength and embrace the power of what's possible.
I know, right?
And we haven't even covered everything.
Yeah.
That I think we got to like the really important stuff, the things that'll actually make a difference.
All this stuff you can use.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what's so cool is that all these ideas, they're all connected, you know? A growth mindset leads to more self-awareness,
Right.
which helps with that intentional authenticity,
Mm.
which then strengthens your executive presence. It's like this chain reaction of positive growth.
It really is. It's like Unstoppable gives us this toolkit for being more effective and influential, whatever goals are.
Exactly. And it's not just about climbing the ladder at work or anything like that.
No.
These principles, they work in any part of life where you want to make a difference, whether you're leading a team or raising a family or just trying to be your best self.
Right.
These tools can help.
What I really like is that it's not just theory. The book gives you actual strategies and exercises you can use. It's like a call to action.
It is. It's about taking charge of your own growth instead of waiting for someone else to tell you what to do.
And that's what I hope our listeners take away from this deep dive.
Me too.
The realization that they have the power to be unstoppable. It all starts with a decision, a commitment to embracing this journey of growth and leadership.
Perfectly said. It's about recognizing that we all have so much potential inside.
We really do.
And with the right mindset and the right tools, we can achieve incredible things.
So to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to take what you've learned today and actually use it. Embrace those challenges, step into that leadership role, and remember that transformation, it starts now. What one small step will you take today to become the unstoppable force you're meant to be?
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep leading.